Hello, everybody. This is John, and this is the Merschman Seeds Ag Weather Outlook for September 23rd, 2017. Well, this is typically a fairly quiet time of the year as we get into harvest operations across the Midwest. Over the last week, we had some rain where it was needed, but wasn't nearly as enough. I've noticed that where we've had a okay season, harvest operations have started and actually running a bit early, but it's lagging in many areas. We haven't had any inland tropical moisture. Certainly hurricanes have been in the news this season. We've had a near record season. Certainly haven't had any of that moisture moving inland, and really I think the big story right now is really dry in many areas. Now, over the last week, you can see southeast Iowa, that's one of the driest spots in the entire Corn Belt. Received a fairly soaking rain in a few areas there, but it wasn't all that widespread. Illinois missed out on most of it. Parts of eastern Missouri missed out on most of it. Good part of Iowa, though, received about ½ inch to 1.5 inches, but it still wasn't nearly enough to make up for the deficits that are currently over those areas. Temperatures didn't help. Now, a while back, remember we had some pleasantly cooler readings. This past week, we had really a mini heat wave here with temperatures rising above 90 degrees over many areas over the central and eastern Corn Belt. Areas in red were as much as 10 to 12 degrees above normal. So definitely a very hot week, and that certainly did not help with soils already quite dry. So you can see, despite getting some needed rainfall, we still have lots of dry soils over the eastern half of the state of Iowa, parts of northern and eastern Missouri, and especially over a large part, if not the majority, of Iowa or Illinois, and also Wisconsin. So we definitely have these pockets of dry soils over many areas. Over the last week, you can see the good news was the areas in blue. We did receive some needed rain in a few spots. Now, again, it's sort of a mixed bag here. If you're in harvest operations, you don't really want this rain. Other areas probably still do to get the crop condition up a little bit better. So it's really sort of a complicated situation here. Over parts of Missouri, I noticed the much higher percentage of harvest compared to further to the north. Certainly, tropical weather's been in the news, and Maria is the one we're watching right now. This is the track, so there's really not much chance of any inland moisture from Maria. Certainly wind and surf action along the east coast as we go through the week. Okay, so the real story, I think, as we get into today's briefing is going to be changeable temperatures. Now, I just talked about those really hot temperatures. Well, look at this trough, this area sort of shaded in blue over the western U.S. where it's a lot of cool weather in the west. That's going to be pushing to the east. Because of that flow, I wanted to show you, look at this flow. We have this big dip in the jet stream, then we have the big ridge in the jet stream. So we're ending up with these pretty amazing temperature anomalies. Look at the west. That's 12 to 15 degrees below normal. Look at the east. That's 12 to 15 degrees above normal. That's the next 5 days. But that trough gradually pushes off to the east. So this week we're going to have a frontal boundary pushing through and pushing that very hot air off to the east. It's going to take a time. It's slow moving. That's why we do get some quite heavy rain over parts of Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, and especially further south. Look at Texas. Unfortunately, the areas that I mentioned earlier that are the driest, I guess don't see much rain at all over those areas. This front does pass through, but it does not pass through with much precipitation further to the east. Now, if we get a little bit further, this is the 6 to 10 day outlook. Look how different the upper jet stream looks. That digging trough, this area right here, this trough of lower pressure, which was over the west, is now over the east, and that has brought some cooler weather in. So as we go from the first 3 to 5 days into the 6 to 10 day period, we're going to pretty much totally reverse our temperatures, going from unusually hot to either near or a bit below normal. But until that happens, we're going to still have some hot weather. This is the number of days above 90 degrees. Looks like about 5 out of the next 10 over some parts of Illinois, large parts of Illinois, 4 or 5 days. till that cold front passes. So remember that ground is already parched, and now we're getting 90-degree weather or greater over that region. Now we're getting into early October now, and we're going to again see another transition. Where's that trough? Well, it's gone. It's way off. It's sort of dissipated. We have another one pushing into the western U.S. But generally, when we see this brown here, that's saying the jet stream is further north than normal. So once again, above normal temperatures. So let's summarize temperatures. Starting out quite hot, well above normal, in the 6 to 10 day range. A little bit earlier, depending on where you're at. It could be more like 3 days out if you're further into the central Corn Belt. But a transition to below normal temperatures, a bit below normal. It doesn't look like extremely below normal. And if you're thinking falls here, well, it is. But temperature-wise, it looks like as we get out into the early part of October, we're going to warm up again. Precipitation, I mentioned along that very slow-moving cold front, some above normal precipitation. But look at southeast Iowa on eastward, that yellow, not much, if any, precipitation during week 1. And then when we look for week 2, below normal over the entire Midwest. So with some exceptions, where we're going to have some soil moisture change in blue, everywhere else, not much hope for any additional rainfall, not just over the next week, but unfortunately over the next 2 weeks. Wanted to put a reminder in for the Weather Decisions Planner. I have quite a few people signed up. This is how I keep you updated throughout the week. If you have a second, you might want to write this down, bwodecisions.com/NCGA/NCGA-WDP. And I'll talk a little bit about that, give you a chance to write that down. So the takeaway points are changing temperatures as we go through the next 10 to 15 days. Could be a soaking rain over far western parts of the Corn Belt this week, but I think overall the story is continued bone dry over most of the central and eastern Corn Belt. And I'm going to put out an update this week on the drought monitor, and I'll show you a little bit more, but it's really gone now from abnormally dry to a moderate and even a severe drought in some areas that have not got this rain over the last month. And that's definitely impacting our crops and our corn condition, as you all know. So anyway, I guess we can look forward to some cooler weather, but doesn't look like most areas are going to look forward to any needed rainfall. Hope you all have a great week. Take care.